they can do is hear us, I think. I should be correct. They should only be able to hear us.
Hello, lovelies.
Chickadee check, 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 check.
Chickadee check, check, check.
Are we heard? Are we at a minimum
Heard
heard?
and not seen?
Heard
I'm
and not
sure.
seen? Is that what's happening?
Wow. Wow, wow,
Somebody?
wow.
Anybody?
Look at them blue boxes.
Bueller?
Bobakin.
Bueller?
Mystical. Amanda.
I mean, I see him in the chat, but I don't know if anybody's actually hearing us or not.
Who knows? I'm having an ad right now, so as soon as that ends.
Somebody give Rachel a gift sub, please.
I can hear us.
You can hear us? Alright, cool.
It's a little quiet. Like I have.
It's a little quiet. Alright, I can turn it up.
I have it turned all the way up right now, and.
I can turn it up. Alright, Rachel, talk to me.
Okay. Hi. Hello. Is it?
Speak into the mic.
Is it working?
I don't know.
Does it sound good to you guys?
Can y'all hear Rachel or no?
Hello. Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Hello.
Thank you all for joining.
No? We need to know. Can you hear Rachel? We're trying a new thing tonight.
I guess so. They said hi, Rachel.
Okay,
hi, Mega
so
Rapidash.
We're gonna raise you just a little bit more.
I think it's good. I think it's nice.
Think it's good?
I think we're chilling.
Think we're chilling?
Wink, get it? Because it's Icewind Dale and it's cold as heck.
Wow. That was okay.
That's where this is going, you guys. It's just gonna be a ton of really bad ice jokes. What is a Rachel? Truly, a rose by any other Rachel would just smell sweet. Please ignore everything that I'm saying.
Not gonna lie, I never quite pictured you as a rose. More like a daisy or a lilac.
I like lilies.
Lilies?
I like a good
Isn't
lily.
that the funeral flower?
It might be. Let me see. They're just really pretty.
Hawkeye's getting in on it too.
Oh?
Plans to give a cold shoulder to all the ice puns. Oh no.
They are the most popular flower for funerals.
That's what I thought.
I don't know what that says about me, but hey, it's fine.
I mean, all good, friends.
First thing about having lilies be your favorite flower, is when you have 3 cats and it's bad for them.
That is bad. All right, let's go ahead and get this let's go ahead and get this video rolling, and we're gonna roll on over. Here we go, friends.
I'm so ready. I'm so excited.
Loremasters, Arcanum.
I've always enjoyed the resolution. Friend-shaped.
The death of an entire party right there. Hello. The map by good old Anna B. Meyer.
God, she's annoying.
I know, right?
Enemy spotted.
The wonderful Mike Disney.
I have foreseen your doom.
It's a goat man.
And he's spooky.
That Coliseum is so dope. Oh, wait. One. I mean, it wouldn't be me if I didn't mess something up right from the get go, right? Right? Am I right?
One mess
Hi,
up now
everybody.
means no mess ups later.
Hey, how you doing, friends? All right. Welcome, one and all, to Loremaster's Arcanum on this lovely Wednesday night. I lost track of numbers, so that's why we don't have a number on this one. I am glad to see everybody here this evening. I'm very excited. We're going to talk about one of my favorite places.
A good setting where it's
a
always
good setting.
cold.
It's
and
always
near
cold.
uninhabitable.
Near. Not uninhabitable, just near
just
uninhabitable.
Closely related to uninhabitable.
Yes, that is correct. That is 100%
First cousins.
Correct. Yes, that works. Sure. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody is having a wonderful evening this Wednesday. Apparently I was wrong. Today is Boxing Day in Canada, and the day before was Boxing Day in the UK. So all our Canadian friends, happy Boxing Day.
Happy Boxing Day.
Yeah, friends. Man, what a day. What a week. Happy holidays. So, Rachel, how was your Christmas? Did you have a good Christmas?
Oh, it was fantastic. I got to hang out with my family, and it was really nice to just have a great little Christmas dinner.
Heck yeah. Hope everybody else had a wonderful holiday.
Yes.
Hopefully it was all fun and games. Hopefully everybody made giant messes of paper and danced around their tree and everything along those lines. It's great. It's wonderful. But tonight we're going to talk about
episode 34.
Well, come on in. Tonight we're going to talk about the great, the wonderful, the truly interesting Icewind Dale. The land of the North. Now, what can we say about Icewind Dale other than it was no joke how I was introduced to Faerun?
I didn't know that.
Yes, ma'am. I always, growing up, I played in Dragonlance, right? That was predominantly the one that I played in for the most part.
I love
that. As we were playing D&D, I grabbed a book off the shelf at the local library that was called The Crystal Shard. And I learned of everybody's favorite drow, Drizzt Do'Urden. Drizzt with a t at the end. And the Crystal Shard, it turned me into a fan of the Forgotten Realms. And so it was very interesting to me. All the different people, the stories, what have you. And yeah, no, that's why I have the old cover art of the Crystal Shard up on here. And it was neat because, so the fun part about it was that, growing up, we predominantly played Dungeons and Dragons during the winter, right? When there wasn't a whole lot going on. So reading this book about essentially a Dungeons and Dragons adventure in the snowy whites of the North, living in Michigan at the time, I'm like, oh crap, we can do all kinds of stuff with this. This is great. This is wonderful. Let's go. And so, yeah, no, this was one of those, while we all may be having a bit of a brown winter this year,
it was real muddy.
Things may be a little warmer or whatnot. Surprisingly enough, Icewind Dale always reminds me a bit of home because whenever I think of home, whenever I think of Michigan, I always think of all of the where my parents live and whatnot. I always think of the super long winters. Starts snowing on Halloween and then it doesn't stop until like March. And so it was always like, I loved that. I always thought that was great and it was so cool and I loved it. And so, yeah, that was why I like Icewind Dale.
It's frozen all the time. 24/7. 365. I don't know what the calendar in Faerun is. I'm going to look it up.
It's kind of long. It's a bit longer than that. Hello everybody. Welcome on in. Yeah, very much so, right? But we are going to talk about Faerun, friends. We are 100% going to talk about Icewind Dale, the land of the North, the spine of the world.
What a cool name for a really neat location.
Right? The mountains forming the spine of the world. I thought that that was probably one of the coolest things ever.
I read that and I was like, this is it.
Right?
This is absolutely it.
Exactly.
Just like
Exactly.
stretches all the way across the northwest region of Faerun.
So,
So sick.
what is Icewind Dale? What is Icewind Dale? Icewind Dale is the northern regions of Faerun. It is host to what is known as the Ten Towns. Um, because up there are really only 10 major towns. Some of them really not really major, but are there. For many people, their introduction into Icewind Dale was through the Crystal Shard novel series. A great series if you haven't ever read it. Another one is the Icewind Dale PC computer game that came out in the, I think it was the late 90s. It was a turn based. It was done in, I want to say it was the first one that was done in the third edition rules, or maybe it was still second edition rules when you created your characters. Somebody in chat will know the answer to that one.
Someone's got us.
Oh, someone's got us, right? And it is a wonderful mystical land with the part that I love about it is that it has so much buried beneath the snow. That's what I love, and we'll get into that as we kind of go along here. But what are some great things about Icewind Dale? Were there any cool little notes that immediately stick out in your mind about it?
Absolutely. There were quite a few things because, I love new settings. I love reading
Mm-hmm.
about the cool things that people come up with when it comes to different environments and biomes and how that affects towns and all of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's very harsh
Mm-hmm.
and it is just a place plunged in below freezing temperatures. Uh, I really liked the fact whenever I was doing my research, there, of course, is dog sledding. People can
Mm-hmm.
go walk by foot to travel through on snowshoes, but some people will prefer to ride atop axe beaks,
Yes, ma'am.
which are native to the region, which were
Yes,
described
ma'am.
as tall, aggressive, flightless birds that have the head of an axe, like the shape
Yep.
of it, as their beak, and
Mm-hmm.
they are faster than horses and
Mm-hmm.
terrifying.
So imagine, if you will, friends, a feather and fur covered ostrich where its beak looks like an axe head.
Yeah,
That is that is a staple of the land. They are massive. They are mean. They are a chocobo on steroids.
that's
They are, yes, they
that's the way
are
I would
thing.
describe it for sure.
Yes, they are a chocobo on
Ooh.
steroids.
Um,
Um, I love me an axe beak.
they're so great because I obviously traversing in a very dangerous environment leads to having ways to do so without dying, and riding upon a very, very fast flightless bird
Mm-hmm.
seems like a good way to do it. But there is also the one of the three major lakes, Mare Dualdon. Do I say that right?
Say again.
Mare Dualdon, one of the three major
Merdulden?
lakes. Is
Yeah.
that how you say it? Yeah, cool. Which is like one of the
If
largest
you
and
want
the
to put a bit of
deepest.
dwarvish on you,
Put
you
the
might
little
call it
dwarvish.
Dwarden.
No, I can't do it. You can do the dwarvish accents for me. I'll practice for next time. But it is a major source of things called knucklehead trout. And the bones of the knucklehead trout, not only is it just the knucklehead trout good for food, but the bones were described as ivory-like, and
Mm-hmm.
they're used in a thing called scrimshaw, which is an art. And people will take the
It
bones
is.
and they will carve like intricate and beautiful designs. And the people that do so are called scrimshanders. And
Mm-hmm.
I just love that. They're held in high esteem. If you're able to do it, they love you.
They are. That uh, that comes from a. It was actually kind of an interesting thing. The idea of that draws its roots into the, I think I'm saying it correctly, Google Translate, hopefully you're helping me say it right, the Inuit, the natives of the Arctic regions or whatnot, right, where they carve things into bone and make jewelry out of it and whatnot from like whalebone and shark bone and stuff like that or whatnot. I think that was my understanding was that where they got the idea for that from, for this area. But yeah, no, it was that stuff is. I got a funny story about that, but we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that. Also, they said that according to the wiki, Sam Curtis D, the PC game was 2nd edition.
Ah, thank you. Yep, was 2nd edition. I couldn't remember, to be perfectly honest.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. But yes, no. One of my favorite things.
Yes.
One of my favorite things was the Dales actually host the Goliaths before they were Goliaths.
Yeah?
Yes. So I want to say it was the Wizards, not the Wizards Tower, something Tower. It was the 2nd edition Forgotten Realms Adventure, which the name is escaping me right now. Where you went into the north originally and you could encounter the roving barbarian tribes that were there that were said to be descendant of giants, because they all appeared human, but they were always bigger. They were always like 9 and 10 feet tall and whatnot, right? And so like one of the things I love about the Dales is that near the mountain areas, right, and in some of the timberlines and whatnot, you can still they still let them in these Goliath and large human barbarian tribes that are there that still roam the outer wastes and the frozen colds and whatnot, right? And I always find it the best place to put some sort of like, what's, very much the whole, what is the riddle of steel, Conan? Like, I always loved that stuff. And then my other one that I absolutely love, that is more of a recent addition for this area, is the Chardalyn.
Oh, I don't think I even read about this. Please do tell.
The Chardalyn? I may be saying it wrong, but that's my understanding of how you say it.
Okay.
It is a blue magical crystal that can be mined in the mountains here. And it is essentially, right? It is a magic battery. Is ultimately what it really comes down to. You can imbue it with spells. You can put power and magical energies inside of it, right? But it's like it can be corrupting. That's the downside to it, because it can act as like an enhancement focus. It can do all kinds of different. It's this very weird crystal that has these enhanced magical properties to it, right? That can very much be used for good or ill. Yep. Character can get infected with it. There's a disease that comes along with it, right? Spelled with a CH.
I see.
CHYDRALIAN. YN. Yeah, Chardalyn disease.
Oh, it's a naturally occurring substance?
Yep, it causes a magic madness. Yeah. So the way that it's described and the way it's talked about is it's essentially like mining raw uranium, right? Like it is.
Oh, no!
Yeah, it's naturally occurring. It's this really powerful substance, right? But it can kill you just from being around it, right? With the exception being that somehow the Duragar are able to harvest this material with not as hard side effects.
Oh, these guys.
But
is there a canonical reason, or is that just kind of left up to a DM's choice?
To be perfectly honest, I'm pretty sure there is a canonical reason, but I cannot remember it for the life of me. I want to say it has something to do with dwarvish resistances, something about their natural resistances that they haven't. Yeah, because the crystal's disease is poisonous, and and they have natural poison resistances.
This all makes sense.
But yes, no, the dwarves, and we have my favorite. Hang on, I gotta go get her.
They're Chardalyn dragons?
Yeah, but that's not my favorite person that's there. I gotta get her. I
forgot
get
her.
I had it, and I forgot it, and I'm gonna get her. And wow, doing it live.
We're doing it live. There are Chardalyn dragons, you guys. I have a whole little section where I talk about monsters that I really liked that I came across.
Right there.
And I think he might have one.
Here it is. No, I don't have a Chardalyn dragon.
No,
I
but
have her. I have her. That's right.
The beauty of a white dragon.
Right? The white dragon herself. Oh. Why is she so cool? Well, the cool part about her is she has a dead wizard strapped to her back. That's the cool part.
Oh no!
Yeah, he died of frostbite in a flight at one point in time.
So he's just stuck.
But because the dragon, chromatic dragons, right? The natural colored dragons, the white dragons, right? They don't form bonds easily, right? And she had formed a bond with this evil wizard, right? She was driven mad by his death and couldn't bring herself to accept his death. So she talks to his frozen corpse that's on her back as if he's still alive.
That's so sad.
Right? But she is absolutely insane. Like, she is beyond insane, and she's an ancient dragon, right? She is old. Like, she's past the level of ancient being scary, but ancient as in, like, how we would view someone who is, like, 90. Yeah, they're still dangerous. Don't get me wrong. They can still be dangerous, right? But they don't feel as dangerous, but you notice there's a cunning behind the eyes kind of thing.
Yeah. She's past level 20, yes.
Oh, big time. Big time. Yeah, big time. She's in that epic level region.
Aren't white dragons, like, known to be evil?
They are. Well, all the solid color dragons are, for the most part, evil in nature, but they're only classified as evil because they have more animalistic tendencies, right? I don't
like that.
Where so the
evil's classified as animalistic.
Well, so like as a prime example, all the metal dragons, like the copper dragon, the golden dragon, the silver dragon, all that stuff or whatnot, right? They have more civilized level of reasoning and logic, right? Whereas the solid color dragons, the reds, the blues, the greens, and this, that, and the other, they are still, for lack of a better term, wild. And if they perceive you as a threat, they're not going to talk to you. They're just going to kill you.
Yeah.
Because you're in their territory, right?
Makes sense.
That's
don't trespass if you don't want to get got.
So the idea that they're like evil is kind of yes and no, but they also see all other life as less than them. They see them as themselves as the biggest thing, and you know that whole "I'm the apex predator." How? Name something bigger than me.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Wow.
Thank you for that prime sub, Astros. I greatly appreciate it.
What's
See,
up,
and I got the thingies working again.
Oh,
Look at that.
Working.
I got the thingies working again. That's right.
Oh, that's so fun.
Right? I know. I just got to give me time, guys. I get it sorted out.
Soon enough.
So that is one of the very interesting
of dragons. Yes.
Yes, right. So going from that into, let's talk about the 10 towns themselves.
I know it's the you have pictures. I love this.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're like a loose sort of, what's the word, confederation of,
so
like, frontier villages.
Sort of, yes, they are a confederation in the actual, like, strictest definition of confederation. They're independent city-states that come together for mutual defense.
Yes, with speakers?
With speakers, right? Now, granted,
Councils.
each town has a speaker or or a their version of a governor or a mayor, right? And in some cases, the mayor and the speaker are not the same person. They represent the interests of their town, and now they will have the council of speakers, which is like their version of like the Senate. That of these 10 that will come together, right, and make decisions that can affect all of the 10 towns, right? So one of the things, so like the speaker is a very, very important person. In many cases, it'll be the speaker of the town will be your initial quest giver. It'll be your king. It'll be your lord. It'll be what have you, right?
They are the VIPs.
With the exception of Bryshander and Easthaven, which are both. Thank you so much, Folk and Myth, for Hey Jay, welcome on in, Jay.
Lord Gazumba.
Can I get a shout out? Can I get a shout out for Lord Gazumba and a shout out for Folk and Myth, please? That would be so great. Thank you everybody who are coming in and giving them subs and hanging out for us. We're talking about Icewind Dale this evening because it's a brown winter for us, but many of us old folks with gray hair remember when this month was covered in snow, and so we're we're pleased on that one. Thank you so much. But Bryshander and Easthaven are the true major cities within the 10 towns. They boast the largest populations. They're the ones where if you're wanting to do something in the north, but you're wanting to have a little bit of that city escapade kind of stuff or whatnot, those would be the 2 towns that you would put them in.
Bryshander's the capital, technically, right?
Technically, yes. Bryshander is the capital. The thing that is very interesting that I personally love, that I personally think is great, is that the towns don't all like each other.
Oh.
Yes.
Politics.
There are some old rivalries. So one of the things to tie this to Greyhawk, in my opinion, right, about Icewind Dale is Icewind Dale has the most, in my opinion, Greyhawk feel. These individual towns each have their own lord, their speaker, however you want to put it, however you want to frame it, right? And they have alliances with other towns, and they have enemies with other towns, right? And so it's very interesting how they can play out. It's surprisingly the amount of a political game you can actually play out within the 10 towns, because this town is convinced this other town is trying to interrupt their commerce and trying to eke in on their trade. You have this town that is holding this other town at bay because in order to get to that town, they have to pass through another town. And so if that town doesn't get what they want, they can extort the farthest out town because they have to go through. That kind of stuff is just amazing. So it is one of the very cool things. Each one of the towns has their own heraldry. Whereas you're used to seeing countries and whatnot having heraldry, each town has their own heraldry, which I absolutely think is amazing. It is so
heraldry is
good.
always so interesting.
Another interesting aspect of the towns too is how much they're dependent on each other, even though they don't have how do I put it necessarily the best relationship with each other, right? Each town survives because they have formed a niche within the economics and the habitat or whatever you want to call it, right, for the area, that they each do things. Like one of the towns primarily is one of the only towns that can really break through the ice, so they have the most of the actual knucklehead trout fishermen, right? Another one of the towns has has pretty much like all the ice beak farms, for lack of a better term. right?
Oh, axe
Or
beaks.
axe beaks, right? So you have those things. One of the towns is the chief supplier of lumber because it's the farthest north and it's near the tree lines, whereas the other cities or the other towns aren't really as close to it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the only one that provides lumber.
One of them's got to be
All
oil, right?
all the while, no, they use whale oil. They use blubber oil. They hunt.
That's so sick.
They hunt down under the ice these narwhal looking whales, right, that are like actually smarter and more deadly. They're like a narwhal meets an orca and slam it together,
Oh,
and that's the
that's
thing that they hunt.
terrifying.
Yeah, right. They hunt
Orcas are so
them,
scary.
and they from there they get blubber oil, and that's where they get their oils from. Is from blubber oil from the whales they kill. They also can have they can also take fish oil and kind of turn that a little bit flammable as well. But every town, the big thing with Bryshander and East Haven, right, is those are the two big trade towns. That's where all the outlying towns come to trade their wares and whatnot, right? So it's a very neat system that exists between the 10 towns, but at the same time, it's a very fragile one. So for Icewind Dale, if you're really wanting to get into like a somewhat political game, if you're really wanting to play a very political game, Icewind Dale and the 10 town politics is very, very interesting.
I never would have thought that a place that is so deadly could have just so much politics to it. I think that would be just like a lot about survival.
We haven't even scratched the surface of the deadly.
I know.
That's the part that I love about. That's one of the many parts of the Dales that I absolutely love is because it's isolated, because it's remote, right? Only
great setting for horror.
Well, only the strongest survive, right?
That includes monsters too.
Well, not just monsters, right? But that shopkeep that your rogue wants to be a rogue and wants to test out his sleight of hand may find himself very quickly dealing with, I don't know, perhaps I know for a fact in one particular town this is the case, a lawful evil retired assassin who is now a shopkeeper up here and had changed their name and is essentially hiding out up here. They're not necessarily going to think too kindly of you trying to steal from them, now are they?
Terrifying.
I'm not going to tell you which shopkeeper it is, but
gosh.
Is one. There is one in one of the towns that it's stated that if players try to steal from them, right, they are a retired assassin.
They're gonna get got.
They're gonna get got.
That's so fun.
There is also ties to Avernus here. There are ball cults within these towns. There is, and my personal favorite, if you've been trying to find a way to take your group on a Spelljammer trip or whatnot, believe it or not, Icewind Dale can get you there. There's a whole section of this place that's like John Carpenter's The Thing, with a UFO essentially underneath the ice, and it's a flying city, and it is corrupting, and there's mind flayers, and there's all kinds of junk like that. You've got massive white dragons that have laid claim to the territory. You have Duragar who are building mechanical dragons out of a corrupted crystal that is Chardalyn. You have just the Duragar in general waging a war on the surface dwellers in the snow. Yeah, imagine that. You're trying to track down things in a blizzard. The elements themselves are an enemy. All the while, should you choose, you have the Frost Maiden, who is quite literally a demigod that resides over this entire region. You have frost giants. You have frost giants. You have white dragons, white wormlings. You have roving Goliath barbarian tribes. You have all this stuff. You have forgotten elven kingdoms buried under the snow. You have places of great power and magic.
You got everything. This place has got everything.
Everything in there. Just how deep will you dig into the snow to find it? I love it.
Touched on something that I was, through my research, was looking at, which is monsters.
Let's talk about some monsters.
You mentioned the frostworms, which I found very, very cool, because obviously we all know and love the purple worms. They're frightening. They're large. They're burrowing, and you're gonna die.
That's right.
But then you have the frostworms, which not only are about 40 foot tall, they can stun people for a minute. They have a breath attack that recharges, which I don't believe purple worms got. And it's just...
Yeah, that sounds about right.
You're gonna die. Sam Curtis, it is not friend-shaped.
Not friend-shaped. No,
not friend-shaped.
Not at all. Sorry.
Oh my gosh. They're just wild. They're large. And then two of my personal favorite, and I feel like one of these you might know.
Oh, go on.
And so I'll start with that, then I'll go to the other one. So the tomb tappers.
Ooh, those are fun.
They're very fun.
Tell us about a tomb tapper.
These sort of like faceless constructs that were designed by like ancient Netherese empires to collect magical items and to slay spellcasters. They can burrow into the depths of tombs and temples and find magic items. They cannot be charmed. They cannot be stunned, I don't believe. They don't have a face. They have a mouth that they will use. They have arms that they will wield weapons with. And magic just does not work very well against them. So be scared if you aren't a barbarian or a fighter or anyone that can wield a weapon. Then, of course, they can also be killed. If you can kill them. But they will permanently just turn into stone when they die. They just look frightening. They look absolutely terrifying. And if I ever saw one coming towards me, I would just die out of fear.
Noted.
Yeah. Don't note that. Please don't note that. Please don't. No. No. Oh, goodness.
Oh, yes. And what was your other favorite that you saw?
The other one was the Cold Light Walkers.
Now we're talking. Tell me more.
I really liked. So, say you're going through and it's dark out as it is within, if you're playing, for instance, the Rime of the Frost Maiden, where it is eternal night. You're traveling through just white snow everywhere, snow as far as the eye can see, which is not very far because it's dark and there's very little light. But then there is a light. It's bobbing. It's weaving. You see a light in the distance, and you're like, oh, maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a town in the distance. Maybe it's someone traveling through. You don't know. You need help. Maybe you can chat along with them. You start to approach. It's not. Nope. It is a undead humanoid corpse.
Yes, that's right.
That died, and now any feature that is not covered by clothes is emitting an incredibly bright light that will blind you. And they are very dangerous. And do not approach.
So not friend-shaped.
Not friend-shaped. They look cool, but you don't. If you see a light in the distance, don't worry about it. You'll be better off without it. They just look really cool. The art. I wish I sent you pictures that we could have pulled them up. Amanda, they're not friend-shaped. You guys will die.
Trust me. You know what? They are friend-shaped once.
There it is. Only once. Once and only once. And the only friend-shaped thing you'll ever touch.
Yep.
Never again.
That is a fact. They are friend-shaped once. So the Dales.
Yes.
Those are some solid monsters that you're talking about. That you're getting into.
Love me some monsties.
Right? There is so much about these towns that is so neat that is for for the purpose of running a game in it, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I love about it, right, is I have made it very well known, right, that I am a sucker for David Lynch movies, for Twin Peaks, all kinds of games where you have plots within plots and everybody thinks that you're onto them for their individual plot when in reality you have nothing to do with it.
Nothing at
right?
all.
And so that heightened level of paranoia that you have going on in each and every one of these towns is so great. It's so wonderful, and I love it. And then there's everything going on outside the walls. The threats from within and the threats from without are great. One of my personal favorites about playing in the Rime of the Frost Maiden, right, is that the threats within are not always going to be from the best place. Now, this is not a game review or whatnot of the Rime of the Frost Maiden, right? However, it does bring to light some of the mentality that exists, because ultimately in the Dales, your overwhelming enemy is always the cold. Yet you still live here. You still do the things that you need to do. And each town in turn has their own way of doing things. Each town is ultimately its own country, right? Entity. It really truly does. It's its own entity. So in the case of the Rime of the Frost Maiden, one thing that has to happen is they have to make sacrifices to all of them. All towns have to make sacrifices to her. And it's the only thing that keeps her from completely freezing over the entirety of the North and killing everybody, right? Is they must make sacrifices to her. In turn, everybody is almost all a warlock, under the power of a warlock, whether they realize it or not, or want it or not, right? When you really look at it. Yeah. They haven't entered a pact, but they must make a sacrifice to her, right? And there are, I believe it's either Bryshander or Targos. One of the two. It's one of those two, right? They make human sacrifices, right? They take them outside of the wall, they tie them to a pole, and they either burn them or let the cold take them. They strip them down and they let the cold take them, right? But how do you go about making that sacrifice, knowing that this is the only thing that's going to keep your town alive, is this sacrifice, right? How do you go about doing that? Oh, simple, right? Well, we'll just criminals. Anybody who breaks the law, right? Anybody who breaks the law, the criminals. Yeah, we'll just sacrifice the criminals because they're obviously disposable. They've broken the laws. They're not there for the betterment of the community. But then what happens when no laws are broken? Then you have to find people and find laws for them to break. Or better yet, an unsuspecting group of adventurers coming to do good doesn't understand the nature of those laws. And they come in, and these laws are absolute. And then they break a law. And now they've got to figure out how to keep their friend from ending up on the stake and sacrificed to the Frost Maiden. Woo! Because all he did was what amounts to jaywalking. And yet that's a punishable offense.
By death.
Punishable by sacrifice. Right?
Oh, this is neat.
So you can have those kinds of cool dynamics, right? Whereas you're like, I just came from Bryshander, and it was Targos. That's what I thought. I thought it was Targos. You have these kinds of interactions that happen with them, right? With some of these towns. I'm going to say one more thing about Icewind Dale, and then I'll shut up, I promise. And,
no, please keep talking. This is really cool. I'm having a great time.
So, almost everybody here has seen Icewind Dale on the screen. One of my favorite places in Icewind Dale. What?
Is?
Oh.
Oh, are you bringing up?
Revel's End. The prison that they found themselves in the beginning of the Dungeons and Dragons movie that was recently here, where they were waiting for the Aarakocra, Jonathan, to rescue them or whatnot. That was Revel's End in Icewind Dale, where they are sent out to harvest ice to be used for other places. Revel apostrophe S End. Revel's End.
A prison built on the cliffside?
It is.
Overseeing the Sea of Moving Ice!
Yep.
God, the Sea of Moving Ice is very cool. That's
It is
wild!
Sea of Moving Ice. Make big ice cubes into smaller ice cubes. That's right. But that is where all the prisoners of Faerun get sent, right? So there's,
I'm sorry, like, all the prisoners? Every single?
It is one of, not every.
Oh, okay.
Like, it's where Waterdeep and Baldur's Gate, Daggerford, right? A lot of the Sword Coast, that is where they will send their prisoners for long-term sentences.
They ain't getting out of that.
Icewind Dale has a large population of former criminals, because even if they get released, they generally aren't going to make it too far out of the 10 towns in most cases.
Wow. Especially not through the freaking spine of the world.
So there is a pass. There is a pass that allows them to get in and out between the Dales and the southern regions. And how that works, though, is that during the winter time, it freezes over. So for the winter months, you cannot get in or out. You're stuck there. Winter here lasts a very long time. There is the spring thaw and the summer, which opens the road back up once again to allow trade and commerce. However, once that pass is closed, you are there.
Hello, sir, make my day. But that's... Ooh. Very fun. That's very...
I love it.
I can just imagine all of the, like, starting adventures of you're passing through and someone's like, if you go in,
I don't remember what... I don't remember what it was, but that was one of the first adventures that I went on to go to the Dales. It was something to do with a mystical tower. That's all I remember. I ran it, oddly enough.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember what it was called.
Kurt, running something?
But the whole thing is that you're hired as the stereotypical convoy escort, right?
Yeah.
And in the process of going north to the Dales, or north to Icewind Dale, you go through, and then you're attacked by Umber Hulks that pop out of the snow and the ice, and they cause an avalanche that fills in, and then you're stuck in the Dales because it's going to take them a month or so to clear it out. So you're there for a month. So you might as well adventure while you're there, and it's how you get stuck in the Dales. Right?
That's good.
I cannot remember the name of it. I have it on my computer. I'm just not going to try and go through and pull it up.
You have so much stuff.
Oh goodness.
So many PDFs.
So many PDFs. But we would be remiss if we didn't talk about other things. Rachel, what have you got?
I have
something outside of the monsters had to have caught your fancy.
I have some stuff about locations.
Let's talk about them. What do you got?
One of them was the Sea of Moving Ice, because I found
what
that.
About the Sea
First
of
of all,
Moving Ice?
Just a neat name. I mean, obviously it is just kind of like on the nose of like it's a bunch of broken up pieces of land and ice that do move. But what I very much enjoyed about it, which I both enjoyed and also was slightly confused. I don't know if it's because I didn't do enough research to get to the reasonings, but it was talking about how, first of all, almost completely uncharted. They are ice masses that are wide enough apart for like ships to pass through. However, because the ice of the sea changes, it can even catch like some of the most experienced seafarers off guard, because you can't, even with knowing how boats work and how to do things in emergencies, you can't really compensate for a glacier running into you instead of you running into the glacier. And so people have tried, but there is just like hundreds, a collection of ancient ice-locked ships that either are like scattered that have been frozen to the sides of the glaciers or just are underneath the ice itself.
Yep.
What I did not find was the reasoning as to why people are going out there in the first place on boats when it's so dangerous. I'm sure there's reasons.
Why would they go out there?
Yeah. Why would they do that?
Like, are you wanting an actual answer or no?
I mean, if you have one, I'll take it.
I mean, sure. Think about it, right? You have all these ships that are sunk, right? But most importantly, what's on a lot of those ships?
Oh, things. Stuff.
Treasure. Gold.
Items.
Right?
Ugh.
Protection from
These
cold.
greedy guys!
Protection from cold. Cast a little underwater breathing. See what you can find. Maybe?
That sounds terrifying. Rats, a lot of rats is what Pat Jaw said.
I mean, right?
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about protection from cold and then water breathing. I still feel like it would be super cold, even with protection. How? No, that's a dumb
Who's
question.
also to say that there isn't an entire civilization of sea elves that live down on that floor?
Kurt, this is why you make the things. This is why you do the writing. The ideas, they're popping. They're everywhere.
I mean, there's so many.
There's possibilities.
I mean, yes, cannibal tritons are a thing. That's for sure.
Canonically, for real.
I didn't say nothing. Anyway,
scary.
That happens.
Well, no, I meant like the idea of using protection against cold and water breathing to go into the water. Obviously, protection against cold in a cold environment, very understandable. In my human brain that does not have magic in this world is like, don't go into cold water. Cold water equals bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. You have a cannibalistic triton in your party?
No, just tritons are a species, and there are some that are cannibalistic.
Fine. I guess it's just like humans. Humans are a species, and there are some that are. The next location.
What's next on your list?
Is Raghead Glacier.
Oh, okay. What sparked your interest about that?
I have to be able to say this. Regheadman Barbarians. Regheadman?
Go on.
Is that did I say that right?
Sounds good to me.
Regheadman Barbarians. So the glacier itself is on the north part of the spine of the world.
Yep.
And obviously the Regheadmen, I gotta slow it down, got their name from the glacier itself. Who knows who named it first? But they live within specific tribes, which one was mentioned earlier, which was the tribe of the elk. Then there's the tribe of the wolf, the bear, and the tiger. And I believe also the seal and the caribou. Which I love that. It did mention that within the recent century, the only tribes are the elk, tiger, wolf, and bear. But I really liked the seal and the caribou. Just being the tribe of the caribou is just very fun. But the Regheadman barbarians are massive, and they are also migratory hunters, which is sick. They live in tents. They use whalebone and the hides of the elk and what's the reindeer, not just deer, in order to make them. And they have their own specific language that I cannot pronounce, and I don't think I will try.
That's fair.
I'll type it. I'll type it for you guys.
There's a lot of languages and names in this game that I can't say.
Regheadjig? I don't like it. I don't like not knowing things. Yep, it's that language right there. And I think the last thing that I have written is that they do not like the 10 towns, and they will just raid them. pretty frequently because he's
Yep.
gonna stop them.
Yep.
They're massive.
Barbarian raids.
Yeah. Hey. Scary, spooky stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. That's I know that there's more locations. There's a lot that are hidden within
Yeah.
the lands because it is so icy and snowy. Um,
Is there any other places that you can think of?
Wrote things about the 10 towns, but not specifically about the 10 different cities.
Okay.
Do you know much about them?
The 10 towns?
Yeah. I know we've talked about the politics of them and how one of them is specific sacrifices.
All right.
Humans.
So we have the town of Bremen. Bremen was founded by dwarven prospectors. The sleepy town of Bremen sits on the west bank of Mardurden and the mouth of the Shangar River. Bremen's harbor has frozen, requiring local fishers to haul their boats from across the ice and put them in the lake. Visitors who lack a boat can reach Bremen only by crossing the river, which is most likely frozen over. Targos, Tarlamine, and Lonelywood are all visible from the docks on clear days.
Which
it's to help give you an idea of the
distance.
Not necessarily just the distance, but in some areas just how flat it is.
Yeah.
Right. The next town would be Bryshander. This town is the first stop for most visitors to Icewind Dale. Bryshander is a walled up town perched atop a cold, lonely, wind-lashed hill. Bright lanterns suspended over narrow straits twist and wind and add flecks of color to the town's otherwise drab surroundings. The friendliness of this settlement is kind of varied, to be perfectly honest. It is like most other towns where it will, if the harvests and the trade has been good, then obviously the town is a little bit more friendly. It's a little bit more jovial, right? If that has not been, then they're a little more, they're a little more, not as welcoming. A little
hostile, you might
cold.
Say. Hey, there it is.
Though Bryshander does sport one of the larger militias. It is a good if you're going to start a campaign or whatnot, it is a good solid place to start your run. Like, no joke, it really is.
Yeah. Hi, Blackismet official. We do love a good ice pun.
We do love a good ice pun. All right. Next, we come to Cairn Dinval. In generations past, travelers to Cairn Dinval had to follow the rocky shore of Loch Dynshire until, after several hours, they spied the small fortress, the Cairn. Caer. The Cairn. Cairn?
I'm looking it up.
For which the town is named, jutting out of the prominence where it overlooks the lake. Starting to sound familiar. A ferry out of East Haven has made the arduous trek unnecessary for merchants and other travelers, but the ferry was discontinued several months ago. This is coming from the Rime of the Frost Maiden. Cutting off the town and its eastward neighbor, Caer Konig, from the rest of the 10 towns, except by an overland route. Town residents are often furious at this mention, mainly because they have not received deliveries of mead from the town of, you guessed it, Good Mead.
Good Mead.
And the taverns have run dry. Cairn Dinval is also where you will find the prison.
Not the Revel's End.
No, not the Revel's End. It has another prison, and it is one of the more fortified. It's the the tower, town, or castle, whatever you want to call it, it has one. Kaer Konig is, for lack of a better term, a glorified fishing town.
Heck yeah!
It is big on fishermen and fishing.
Those knucklehead trout.
Like, it is very much a very, like, when you enter this town, it has a very nautical theme. Though predominantly run by dwarves, as much of the upper area is. Groups of Kaer Konig started as a camp of a group of mountaineers from the northern Moonsea region. The camp grew, and the wooden palisade has added to discourage raiders. Later came the stone castle of Kaer Konig. Alas, neither the palisade nor the castle fared well. Both fell to orcs before falling to ruin. Kaer Konig is known today consistently of a terrace of row of houses that recede from the shore of Lake Denonshire, like tiers of an amphitheater. This is the part that I think is the coolest thing about the town.
Love
is that so you have the beach line, which has a row of houses, then it steps up, and then there's another line of houses, then it steps up, and then there's another line of houses, then it steps up again, and another line of houses, and then it steps up, right? It's very neat how the town is set up, right? It is very much a tiered housing system on like a front.
Do you think it's like they have just massive amounts of stairs that go up, or do you think it's kind of like one of those winding?
It's a windy.
Nice.
It's a
That's
windy thing.
Gonna be a long road.
They have they're later on in a description for it, in one of the older descriptions, they talk about how they have like a kind of a makeshift like zip line system, right, to go up and down to the shore or whatnot.
Oh, that's sick.
But many view that as it has fallen in disrepair and stuff like that or whatnot. Yeah, no, Kaer Konig has a very interesting way of travel. Then we have Dugan's Hole. Dugan's Hole is the smallest and most insular of the 10 towns. Its residents aren't fond of visitors, and inbreeding has caused the population to dwindle in recent years. It has also given rise to often seen physical deformities, including but not limited to small, misshapen ears and slightly pointed teeth. The town is a small cluster of dwellings perched atop the edge of the Red Waters that is too small to support any industry, not even Scrimshaw. Ice is buckled, and the shorter of its two piers rendered the dock unsafe. The longer pier has two ice-bound keelboats tethered to it, though the immobile causes the winter frozen surface of the lake for hundreds of yards around them. So, tell me how to play The Hills Have Eyes in the 10 towns without telling me how to play The Hills Have Eyes.
You got it. It's there. It is right there in front of you. Ooh. There's also on the map Kelvin's Care, which is just a mountain. It's just a mountain that's right there.
It is a mountain. It is named after a person who dies there.
Kelvin, I'm guessing? He just died there, and so
he's an explorer who froze to death on it.
Yikes. Oh, poor Kelvin. At least he's got a cool legacy.
He's got a legacy of some kind, right?
He's got a real cool mountain now tied to his name.
Sure does.
Yeah.
Sure does.
Oh, no.
But like these are some of the towns. I mean, we're not going to go through each and every town. I mean,
they'll figure it out for themselves.
They'll figure it out, right?
If you guys are interested in it, you guys got it. There are many resources.
Now, so one thing to note, right? So a lot of things when it comes to this, right? You can scour the internet and try and find books and stuff like that on Icewind Dale. Here's the fun fact about the Icewind Dale. Icewind Dale itself has never actually had a full-on, like, this is the Icewind Dale book, right? Whereas, they've released, this is the Baldur's Gate book. This is the City of Greyhawk book. This is an actual comprehensive campaign guide of all of Eberron, stuff like that or whatnot, right? Icewind Dale hasn't ever really had that. You've had to kind of piece it together from the adventures over the years, Now, that's not to say, even if you don't play 5e, I still would recommend grabbing the Adventure of the Rime of the Frost Maiden. Why? Because a lot of this information is in there if you want to tell tales that are up there. One of the biggest things that I love when it comes to this, right, is that you want to take your characters into the Underdark. There happens to be a guide who resides in Icewind Dale who can take you there. If you've ever wanted to have a particular individual just rear his head, he makes home in the Dales. As a matter of fact, one thing that's very interesting that I absolutely love is that in the Dales, right, or in Icewind Dale, if you decide to use it, right, there is a notoriety system that comes with it, right? Word gets around the towns, right? So it may not always be fast, but word does get around because travel, even in the snow, still does happen, right? One of the things is good old Drizzt, right? The legend of Drizzt Duorden is revered by all within. So much so that they've gone to it to where they have fanboys within. So as a background option, right, you can put Drizzt fan, right? If you're using the material presented in Rime of the Frost Maiden, right, where your character gets a tattered green fur-lined cape that he runs around in to signify that he is part of the Drizzt fan club.
That's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. That reminds me. I love that type of system so much. And I'm sorry that I'm hopping topics. In one of the games that I played, it was the first campaign I ever did, our characters did a good old saving of the world as the heroes do. And then the next campaign that we played, there were fanboys and fangirls of our characters.
Okay.
And it was just wild. It was just wild to see. And the fact that it exists, it makes sense. And I just love it.
Oh, yeah. No, I am.
The green cape. Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, no, you can encounter Drizzt while you're here. Like, it's actually, in many cases, it is on a random encounter table. You can just encounter him while he's out doing stuff. Yeah.
That's sick.
Whether or not you know about him is a different story. We as people know about him as players, but our characters is a different story.
God, to be taken to the Underdark by Drizzt. What a way to live.
But yeah, no, like that's one of the things. One of the things that I personally like is because the Duragar play such an important part of the enemies here in the Dales, that are in Icewind Dale, that they have to get here somehow, and oftentimes in the bottom of their holds or in the bottom of their fortresses, because yeah, they have some fortresses. They have access to the Underdark, and so it is very easy to go from Icewind Dale down into the Underdark.
You just gotta sneak into some fortresses first.
I mean, that's one way of doing it.
Hey,
for sure.
That'd be interesting. Gosh, I know, right? I love these games. These settings are so sick.
But one of the other things too that is also here that I personally like is the Frost Giants. And depending upon how cunning and, how cunning you are and how smooth you are, right, for lack of a better term, right, you can have some very interesting interactions with Frost Giants. Because there are Frost Giants and Cloud Giants. Cloud Giants live more on the spine of the earth, or spine of the world. But they are there, and you can interact with them if you want to have some giants.
Would you say if you're cool enough, then you might be able to?
Yeah. If you're cool enough, if you're one of the cool kids.
You're one of the cool kids.
Yep, there it is.
There it is.
We just lost all our viewers.
Where did they go? Why ever would they leave?
How did they leave? I don't know. Okay, everybody, chill. Oh man.
As you were saying, Cloud Giants.
As I was saying, But there are different giants, and the other factor too that is one thing that I absolutely love about Icewind Dale, right, is because it's stated, there's a lot underneath the ice that is lost and unknown, right, which I love because you can get all sorts of interesting interactions. And you can find things under the ice in abandoned caves and abandoned temples and like that, because the whole thing is that the summer is so short, right? It thaws out, but it only thaws out so much, right? It never fully gets completely green in Icewind Dale, right? It gets to that, those first few days of spring after a long winter, right? Where, like, yeah, you're going to have patches of green here and there, but it's still cold out. There's still snow on the ground.
Crunchy even if grass.
That crunchy stuff, right? Yeah. So, and, like, sometimes that's how things are found. That's how things are uncovered. Because so much of Icewind Dale is built on top of the snow. Not a lot of people know what's underneath it. And so it's one of those things. Much like Blackmoor, it is an inveritable playground for DMs to run around and do all kinds of things because it has a little bit of everything inside of it. The cold being your constant, right, makes it to where you always have a reason to be moving, right? The one thing as a DM that I have always hated, right, was the whole, like, well, I don't want to pay the innkeeper's fees. I'm just going to sleep outside of town. Well, here, sleeping outside of town can get you killed because you'll freeze to death.
Yeah.
You very much limit the amount of time that you spend outside. And for our crunchy DMs, right?
Love a good crunch.
For those of us who are super crunchy and want that little bit extra in their game, right? Icewind Dale is so cold. I mean, regular constitution checks before you start to take levels of exhaustion.
Oh, because the cold is exhaustion.
Because the cold is sapping heat from your body.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, it makes sense, but I hate it.
Your cold weather gear can give you an advantage. It can give you a bonus to the roll. It can do something along those lines, but they still have to make that roll.
And it makes... I hate it, but it does make sense. I've ever worn like winter boots, your toe is still.
Do you know why I love it? Because Tiny Hut becomes the most powerful spell in your wizard's arsenal.
Oh my gosh, Tiny Hut is so good.
Right? Because Tiny Hut can keep you alive so much. The most common sold scroll in all of Bryshander and East Haven is Tiny Hut.
Tiny Hut. And it also works if you're going against some real spooky monsters, because they can't get in.
That too.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, there is so much.
There's so much. And I love that because there is so much, there's also... Oh, I don't know if this is going to make sense, but, like, there's so much information to go off of if you want to, then there's also so much space to just create whatever it is you want. You don't have to know anything about Icewind Dale other than that it's a location, you got a map, cool. Just smack them somewhere in it, and then you can just go with any ideas that you have or want to use.
One of my favorite things about Icewind Dale is that it's so easy to get lost. Even with great survival checks or search checks or, you know, what have you, right? Because the snows come on so quickly, right? It is so easy for you to get lost, right? And I love utilizing that, getting lost, and you come across an entrance to an old tomb, and you're like, okay, well, we've got to make camp in here tonight. It's better than trying to camp out there or whatnot, right? You know, it does not railroad your players, but it does allow you to have a lot more fun with stuff that could happen. You know, because for all intents and purposes, there could be a giant chunk of a glacier that's like in this ruin that you found to hide in. And you decide to strike up a big old bonfire to help keep you warm and whatnot. The next thing you know, the glacier's melting, and then bursting out of the glacier is, what is that? Is it a zombie T-Rex? Because we're gonna bring dinosaurs. We could do that. Why not?
Oh my gosh. Friendly Monster asked if you would let Flame Shield help deal with the cold.
You know, honestly, that depends, because I believe Flame Shield has a degree of charges. If it doesn't, I think that it would probably help keep you warm, but I don't necessarily know if it would help keep those around you warm.
We'll just do a good, like, wall of flame. We'll just have crackling fire on all sides of us, make it a little toasty. It'll be fine.
Please, yes, do that. Burn all of your spell slots for what amounts to about 30 minutes of heat, and we'll be great. We'll be great.
It'll all be great. We'll never need those back for any other reason.
No, couldn't possibly need those back.
Oh, terrifying. I love it.
I know, right?
When you were talking about how there can be like things that you find during the defrosting season, I don't know if we have any Don't Starve players in the chat here, but in the game,
I play the crap out of Don't Starve.
It's so good. You come across. It's great. We should play sometime. But anyways, you can run across skeletons that have all of these objects that are around them that they had before they died. And you can pick them up and continue on your adventure, and they can be very helpful. And so
I have a massive random loot chart table for when people just say that they want to play in Icewind Dale with me. Yeah, no, they'll come across frozen adventurers who didn't pack enough warmth for themselves, or they died to a random barbarian raid. The barbarians didn't, take everything, or they come across random dead barbarians, because wild Yeti packs are a thing, and they're not fun.
No, they are not. I think when I was looking through like all the monsters, which tons, millions, of course, it's D&D. There's so many, but they're like saber-toothed tigers.
Oh yeah,
they're just vibing. Polar bears, which like even in a fantasy setting are still terrifying.
Oh no. Okay, so in Kurt's world, right? In Kurt's world, Kurt has a very homebrew class and race that exist in Kurt's world for Icewind Dale, right?
Well, now you must mention what they are.
This is gonna send Manda in directions that we never thought possible, right? So in mine, and they only exist in Icewind Dale, right? I have what amounts to Vulpix, fox people that are based off of the Arctic fox. And they are like 3 feet tall, but they are 100%.
I need them.
I went through and I kitted them all out. I gave them all their racial traits. I gave them and so one of the things about the Arctic fox, I don't know if you know how it hunts, right? But it dives.
It's
right?
So cute.
That's how it dives, right? So, because I'm also a Final Fantasy nerd, right, I created the Vulpix Dragoon, which is based off of the Dragoon class from Final Fantasy, where they jump real high and then they drop down on people, right? And so they're proficient in lance weaponry. They are the Dragoons of the North, and they are predominantly all Vulpix because they have the natural jump ability that's built into their race. And so that is one of the things. Anybody can be a Dragoon, but they get a little bit of an advantage on it because they have that natural jump ability built into them.
I need information on this right now.
But yeah, no.
So does Manda.
Yeah.
Undead polar bears?
Yeah, those are a thing too. Yeah, undead polar bears. Yeah.
No. Why?
They but yeah, no, they so I was like, man, we've got to bring something, because there's not really like an actual like almost every game or every setting for Dungeons and Dragons, right? There is something unique, something special about each region. There's a race, a sub race, or a lineage, whatever you're right about each individual place, or something that makes it truly unique, right? And I was like, and one of the things I always thought was kind of cool was I was watching on National Geographic one time, legitimately, as I was looking through Rime of the Frostman, and was talking about, with David Attenborough talking about the Arctic fox and its hunting methods in the great northern regions of Canada. And I was just like, okay, this thing sounds cool. And then I watched how it did that, and I'm like, man, imagine if you had like a D&D character, like it was like a lance, it was like a dragoon from Final Fantasy. I'm like, let's make it a fox. Yeah, an Arctic fox-looking species, Vulpix. Yeah, we'll make it like a Vulpix, and then we're gonna give it a big lance, and that's what it's gonna do. And it's just gonna ding, and that's what it's gonna do. Yeah, that's where we're gonna go with this. Yeah, what's it gonna have? You know, we'll give it where it's gonna have to have more dex, or it's gonna have a dex bonus, right? It's gonna have a strength penalty because it is small. You know, we're gonna go through. It's gonna have additional movement, and it's gonna have the ability of camouflage because they blend themselves in with the snow really, really well. So they're like maybe possibly ambush attackers. I don't know. You know.
Your brain amazes me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Amanda said I have fox patterns. I have fennec fox patterns. I can make this work.
But yeah, no, like that was one of the things because I was like, these guys would be cool, right? Yeah. So I made them. So like in the last Rime of the Frostman that I ran, they encountered one of them. His name was Toby, I believe.
Toby.
Yeah, his name was Toby. He was the last of the 34th Dragoon Regiment that had gone to try and fight Ariel, the Frost Maiden, in like regular combat, right? His squad was one of the last ones to make it out, and there was this whole story about him being the last one who still carried the mantle of the 34th Dragoons, and that his, you know, a lot of his old squad mates had become mercenaries, or they had died later on and whatnot, and how he still carried the lost banner. And
please don't tell me that they killed him.
No, they didn't.
Oh, okay, okay.
Two of the players tried to take up the mantle to become new members of the 34th Dragoon, right? And so, like, a couple of them got a little bit of homebrew classing and stuff like that or whatnot to become part of it or whatnot. And he had left them with a sending stone, right? It was a one-time use sending stone, right? And it was a should you ever need me kind of thing, right? And they were fighting the Frost Maiden, right? And she was like in her final form ultimately, right? And
I just got chills.
They were out of spell slots. They were out of this. They were out of that. They couldn't think of what to do or whatnot, right? And then one of them got struck real hard by like a kinetic blast, and all the items fell out, and I made them all make a dex save, right? Because the dude's bags exploded and everything like that or whatnot, right? And the sending stone landed in one of them, right? And they were like, oh, Toby. And they used it, right? And no crap, like out of a portal out of the sky, Toby just came piercing down with his lance and got his revenge for all of his lost friends.
That's so
and
epic.
Whatnot, and shattered the crystal and everything along those lines. And then they went about reforming and remaking the 34th Regiment and bringing peace back to the 10 towns. And
to be at the table when that happened, that is so epic.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I made a Vulpix. I made like a Vulpix-esque type racer based off like the Arctic Fox. Thank you for that sub there, Mr. Slothman. I greatly appreciate that. It was great.
Yeah, we got 6 minutes left here.
But yeah, no, that's one of the little things that I had made, and then they found, because of course I like lances, dragon lance, all that stuff or whatever, right? They would periodically find as a random loot item after they had met Toby, as a random item that they might find out in the snow, right? A discarded piece of the regiment's armor, or a lance, or a helm, or a gauntlet, or a greave, or something like that, right? Further cementing that these guys were still out there trying to do what they could do. It's fun when you take stuff like that and throw that into your games.
God, I love it when those types of things that are sprinkled are like the game changer for ending games. Like the big bosses. Oh, it fills my heart with so much joy. Very quick, very random. Once again, first campaign I played through, one of the first people that we met was a gnome that had amnesia, did not know who they were, didn't know what their name is. We named them Apple because that was the nearest thing that we found, and we could not all decide on a name. And so their name was Apple. And at the very, very end, like 2.5 years into the campaign, they made a comeback and helped us save against the horde of armied undead that were coming towards us, and it was, oh, I love it so much.
I like that. I like
Blacksmith, I cannot say that correctly. Blacksmith official said that he's still waiting for their first campaign. They're excited to polish their dice with the blood of my enemies.
There you go. That's the best way to approach it. That is 100% the best way to approach it.
Absolutely.
But friends, we are rounding out the evening here.
Love plant races, by the way.
Hopefully, perhaps our little talk about Icewind Dale has shown you a couple things, perhaps given you a couple of ideas. That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here to do.
To cement some ideas for your campaigns, for your tables, for ideas, places to go, things to check out, new areas to explore, right? This was fun. I love Icewind Dale. I very much think that it is one of those areas that everybody should at least play in once.
Yeah.
Right? And it's real easy to play in it in the winter months. I tell you what. It really is.
It hits.
But I love Icewind Dale. I love running games in Icewind Dale.
Truly, your passion for it shows, and I'm very glad that I got to be witness to it. It's great.
I mean, so it's one of those things where there are people who very much take every setting and they have their setting. Like, I don't play anything else but this setting, right? And to me, it's one of those things that's always limiting, right? So, like, I always try and find one thing about each setting that exists that I really like.
Yeah.
Right? And I like to explore. Don't get me wrong. I love Baldur's Gate. I love Faerun. I really do love Faerun. And I do enjoy Greyhawk or whatnot. Faerun is easier to play in because the material for it's plentiful. It's everywhere, right? But out of all the areas of Faerun, because it's so big and it's so massive, you really kind of have to find your one area there to latch onto. Now, if you said, "Hey, Kurt, we're going to run a Ravenloft game, and you're going to run it, and we're going to do it," and I'm going to be like, let's go.
Let's do it, yeah.
You guys are going to smooch some vampires and then get your heads ripped off, and it's going to be great. But, like, when it comes to just your, I guess you could say your regular setting or whatnot for D&D, I always find a way to get up to Icewind Dale. Always. Even if it's only for a few sessions kind of thing.
Little mini arc.
I always find a reason to get up there.
It's really neat.
I love the cold. I love the cold. I love the way that the area is designed or whatnot. But what about you? I mean, like, you researched this. You haven't really played in it. I mean, like, is there anything? I
want to very badly.
Do you want to play in Icewind Dale, or do you want to play as one of my little Vulpix?
Yes. Is that an allowed answer? Is both allowed? Can I play both? Can I do both? We could just be in Icewind Dale and I can play a Vulpix?
I mean, maybe. I don't know.
I want both. Okay. Truly, I do really like Icewind Dale. It is a very cool setting. All of the settings that we've gone over and done a little deep dive into have been so interesting and unique in all of their just little tidbits and ways. And Icewind Dale is no difference. I love the little details that were found within it. I love the whole political dynamics. That shit is cool. No pun intended there. I'm a big fan, and if you guys should totally check it out if it is something you were interested in. It is so neat. But yeah.
I mean, we kind of got to wrap up. We're encroaching on our time limit here, friends. Manda, who are we rating into?
I don't know if we...
Who are we rating into?
We currently don't have anyone that's available to raid.
Do we not? Do we not have anybody to raid into?
Not that I am seeing personally, but Manda is mystical and amazing, so I am sure. 5%
5% chance is on. All right, friends, we're gonna rate into 5% chance.
Absolutely.
Next
Tuesday we got Greyhawk Next Generation. Wednesday we got more LMA. Then the next Sunday, not this Sunday because New Year's, but next
Yep,
Sunday we
yep.
have Fall of Red Dawn, and that would be the 7th, right?
Yes, the 7th
Which
is
means
also have the premiere of the Blades in the Dark game.
we'll see you there.
We sure will. There'll be more to come on that one, friends.
Oh, absolutely. We'll be chatting.
Also, most importantly, friends, coming up, February 2nd, Jay Lorgazumba will be starting up his we're gonna have his St. Jude's charity fundraiser that we always do. We will be putting out more information about that, but keep that in mind if you are feeling in the giving nature for that or whatnot. So please be sure to keep an eye out for that. More will come out on that soon. But yes, there's a lot coming to Blue Box. There's a little bit of changing of hands as we're figuring everything out and still getting our legs under us. But before too much longer, everything will be like clockwork here. But absolutely. Rachel, the question.
I have a question for you guys. Hear me out.
A very important question.
If you're watching right now and you're not following, easy fix. I totally understand. Sometimes it just slips the mind. There's a little heart. If you are a follower who is not subscribed, I get it. But also, Amazon free. Amazon Prime, it is free. And then if you are, oh God, I'm running out of time and panicking, a follower who is...
What are you doing? Give us a sub. Give us a follow.
I just completely fell. I saw the timer and I started absolutely panicking.
I know.
Oh, great. I'm crying. That's so funny. Thank you for carrying the conversation.
Are you good?
It just was not happening.